The city of Illoria was known for its peaceful skies and glowing towers. It floated above the clouds like a dream carved in crystal and steel. People laughed in markets, children played with floating drones, and the golden guards smiled while they patrolled the streets. But that morning, the sky cracked open with fire. A ripple of sound tore across the heavens, and a ship unlike anything seen before pierced through the clouds. It wasn't just foreign, it was angry. And it didn't come to talk. Commander Riven had barely taken his morning tea when the alarms screamed. He stood up so fast the table shattered. The blinking red lights on the walls weren't part of any drill. His comm device buzzed and crackled, voices screaming over each other, and then silence. Complete silence. The kind that wraps around your chest and refuses to let go. Across the floating platform, Princess Kayla stood on the edge of the command balcony. Her white braid glowed in the sunlight. She did not flinch as the enemy ship hovered above her. People, her golden armor caught the light, making her look like a goddess ready for war. But her eyes held something else, fear. The enemy didn't announce itself, it simply opened fire. Beams of molten light struck the outer towers. Crystals shattered, platforms fell. Civilians screamed. Fire ate the sky. Kayla turned sharply and barked orders. Her voice echoed like a whip across the command chamber. She was royalty, yes, but she had been trained for this. The guards raced into formation. Riven reached the balcony and stopped beside Kayla. His face was pale, his voice shaking, but his will held strong. They didn't even send a message, he said. Kayla didn't respond. Her eyes were locked on the ship. Riven followed her gaze. What he saw made his breath stop. On the ship's hull, painted in deep red, was a symbol not seen for generations, a crest thought erased by the old. War. A faction destroyed by peace treaties and buried histories. But now they had returned. And they had not forgotten. Kayla stepped away from the edge and whispered something too low to hear. Then she faced Riven and gave the order to activate the city's defense wings. Her voice was cold. Her heart was boiling. The skies exploded into motion. Dozens of golden fighter ships rose from the hidden launch chambers beneath the city's floating base. Pilots, barely out of training, launched into fire. Some were burned before they could even climb above the towers. Others managed to fight back, lighting up the sky with counterblasts. In the midst of this chaos, Kayla moved with deadly calm. She knew the invasion wasn't about conquest, it was personal. She could feel it in her bones. Whoever sent this ship wanted her. Not her people, not her throne. Her Riven noticed it too. They're not targeting our power systems or our stores, he said. They're hitting near your chambers. Every shot is precise. Every move is too calculated. Kayla, this isn't war. This is a message. She didn't argue. She simply nodded. And then she said something that made the air go still. I have something to tell you before I go. Riven turned toward her sharply. She looked at him with eyes too old for her youth. You're not going anywhere, he replied. But the look on her face said otherwise. She already knew something he didn't. Something heavy. Something that would shape the fate of everything that followed. As the enemy ship began to descend, its hull opening like a blooming flower, Kayla removed her crown. She placed it in Riven's hands. His fingers trembled. She touched his wrist, gently but firmly. Her voice was soft and final. Promise me you'll protect them. All of them. Below, in the burning sky, the enemy revealed itself. And Kayla stepped toward the edge again, not as a princess, but as a weapon awakened. Kayla didn't hesitate as the platform rumbled under her feet. Smoke curled through the marble corridors, and guards shouted over falling rubble. Yet she walked like a shadow through the blaze, unshaken. Riven followed her with a pace too quick for comfort. He had served beside her for 5 years, but never had he seen this look on her face. She wasn't scared. She was ready. As if this moment had been waiting in the back of her mind all along. Behind them, a burst of fire threw a soldier against the wall. Riven turned to help, but Kayla held up a hand. "He's gone, we keep moving." Her voice was sharp, clear. And without time for mourning, they reached the vault doors buried under the central chamber. These gates hadn't been opened in generations. But Kayla placed her palm against the ancient crystal panel. It scanned her DNA and clicked open like a mouth letting out a breath. Inside was a small room with a sphere floating in the center. It pulsed like a heartbeat, pale blue and whispering something just below hearing. Riven stared at it with wide eyes. "What is that?" he asked. His voice cracked. Kayla stepped closer. "This is why they're here. This is what they want." She touched the orb gently, and it flickered in response. "It holds memories from before our time. Secrets. About who we were. And who they are." Riven's mouth moved, but no words came. His training had never prepared him for this. This wasn't just about war anymore. This was about forgotten history being dragged into the present. Kayla turned to him. "They call it the origin memory. Long ago, we shared a link with the humans. Not just trade. Not just alliances, blood, DNA, roots that stretch further than any star chart." Riven looked stunned. "Are you saying humans and your kind are?" He couldn't finish the sentence. Kayla nodded once. "We were sisters of species. But war changed everything. My ancestors sealed the truth. Until now." A distant boom shook the chamber. Dust rained from the ceiling. The sound of metal groaning overhead warned them the platform wouldn't hold much longer. But Kayla didn't flinch. She lifted the orb with both hands and walked toward him. "Take this. It only responds to someone who has both lines in their veins," she said. "My mother hid the truth even from me. But I always felt different. I felt the pull toward Earth, toward something lost." Riven reached out, his fingers grazing the orb. A surge of heat ran through his veins. Visions flashed in his mind. Star maps. Battlefields. A wedding between alien royalty and a human soldier. A child with glowing eyes. Kayla's eyes. He stumbled back. "That's not possible," he whispered. Kayla steadied him with one hand. "It is. You saw it. My great-grandmother was human. That makes me part of your line, and you part of mine. That's why they want me. That's why they fear me." From above, a rumbling blast told them the enemy was inside the palace now. Kayla stood tall and handed him the orb. "If they take this, they'll erase us. All of us. Every shared bond. Every truth. You must leave." "I will distract them." Riven shook his head violently. "No, I'm not leaving you." But Kayla's gaze was steel. "This isn't a choice. You're the last link. And I have something to tell you before I go. Something only you have the right to know." He froze. The words punched through his chest. This was the moment from before. The moment she had whispered to him. His lips trembled as he asked, "What is it?" Kayla leaned in and touched her. Forehead to his. "You are my chosen. By blood. By bond. You were always meant to find me. That's why you were sent here. That's why we kept meeting in dreams. I didn't imagine them. Neither did you." The orb glowed between them. Blue light danced across their faces. Riven couldn't speak. The connection between them now felt like gravity. Unbreakable. Eternal. Kayla stepped back and smiled. It wasn't the smile of joy. It was the kind of smile worn by someone who accepts pain to protect others. She turned, lifted her blade, and walked toward the sound of boots approaching. Riven stood in the chamber alone. The orb in his arms, heart hammering, mind spinning. His world had changed in seconds. And now the fate of two civilizations rested in his hands. The city burned above him while Riven descended into the hidden tunnels beneath the palace. His boots echoed through the empty halls, ancient and untouched by light. He held the glowing orb tight against his chest as if it were life itself. Walls flickered with forgotten runes. Strange symbols glowed when he passed. The orb pulsed in response, guiding his way like it remembered the path better than he did. This place was older than Eloria. Older than memory itself. Riven had no idea where he was going. All he knew was that Kayla told him to run, so he ran, through ash, through silence, through history cracking open around him like a fragile shell. Above ground, Kayla faced the enemy. Their armor was jagged, dark, and without insignia. No flags, no code. No honor, only metal forged in hate. She raised her sword with both hands and stepped forward as smoke rolled through the chamber. The invaders paused when they saw her. One stepped ahead, removing their helmet. The face beneath was not alien, it was human. Pale skin, dark eyes, a scar across the lips, a voice Riven would have known, because he had served with him once. General Merrick. Kella's eyes narrowed. "You lead this?" she asked. Merrick nodded. "I lead what your ancestors refused to finish. The old blood must be cleansed. The line must break. You are the last key." Kayla lifted her sword. "Then you know I won't hand it over." Merrick smiled, the scar stretching. "Of course. You never did follow orders." He lunged. Steel met gold. Sparks flew. The palace rang with the clash of ancient royalty and a broken soldier trying to erase what should never have been forgotten. Kayla moved with purpose, blade flashing like light through thunder. Below them, the orb vibrated harder. Riven stumbled as a low hum filled the corridor. His vision blurred. Images filled his mind. A hidden escape ship buried in the mountain. Coordinates, voices in alien tones. The orb was trying to save itself. He ran toward the chamber shown in his vision. The doors opened on their own. Inside sat a small, old starcraft, covered in dust, but alive, waiting. Lights blinked when he approached. The orb grew brighter. As Riven stepped into the cockpit, the ship hummed to life. Systems reconnected. A voice spoke, soft and female. Bloodline confirmed. Pilot recognized. Destination locked. Awaiting command. Riven looked at the controls. His fingers hovered. He had trained in dozens of ships, but this one was different. It responded to his thoughts before he even touched the panels, like it knew him, like it was his. Above, Kayla fought alone. Her armor dented, her hair soaked in sweat. Yet her stance held. She had trained for this moment. She didn't fear death. She feared failure. She had made a promise, and she would not break it. Merrick slammed her against the pillar. Her sword clattered to the floor. He raised his blade, ready to strike. But Kayla smiled and whispered, "You're too late." A shockwave ripped through the mountain as the ancient ship broke free from its cradle. It soared upward through the secret shaft, tearing through rock and history. Merrick's eyes widened as dust fell from the ceiling. Kayla pushed herself up. Blood ran down her arm, but her spirit stood taller than ever. "He has it now," she said, "and you'll never catch him." In the cockpit, Riven stared at the screen. A map of star systems spun around him. The orb rested in the cradle beside the console. The voice spoke again. "Secondary protocol active, memory unlocking. Prepare for truth." He braced himself as the ship shot into the sky. A final rumble echoed behind him as the palace collapsed in fire and ash. But Kella's voice stayed with him, in his ears, in his blood. In the light of the orb, he had left her behind, but she had given him everything. Now it was his turn to finish what she began. Asterisk, the ancient ship tore through the sky like a silver arrow. Wind and ash trailed behind it, but Riven kept his hands steady. His eyes scanned the glowing symbols across the control panel. None of them were written in a known language. Yet somehow he understood. The orb beside him pulsed slowly. Each beat sent soft light across the cabin. It felt like a heart, a mind, a guide. And it was guiding him towards something buried far. From the fire he left behind, as the clouds fell away, stars opened before him like scattered sparks. His heart pounded. He didn't know where the ship was going, only that Kayla trusted it. Trusted him. And that trust was heavier than any weapon he'd ever carried. Behind him, the city of Aloria became a burning jewel in the night. The invaders had taken it, but not the truth. Not the last connection between two broken bloodlines that now lived inside the ship. And inside him, the ship's voice returned, calm, gentle. Destination approaching. Prepare for descent. Atmospheric. Breach in 60 seconds. A planet appeared on the screen. Small, green, covered in fog and rimmed with icy blue light. It wasn't marked on any map, but the orb glowed stronger as they neared. This was the place the memory wanted him to find. The ship entered the atmosphere without sound. Clouds parted around the wings. Trees stretched below, glowing with bioluminescent vines. Riven stared in awe. It was like stepping into a dream someone had tried to bury. The landing was smooth, as if the planet had accepted him before he even arrived. The hatch opened with a sigh. Cool wind swept into the cabin. He stepped out with the orb in his arms. The ground lit up where he walked. The forest was quiet. No birds, no beasts, only the distant hum of energy in the air. He moved carefully, guided by the orb's glow. It pulled him through vines and glowing stones, until he reached a clearing unlike anything he had seen. At the center stood a tall stone arch covered in carvings. Some matched the symbols on the ship, others pulsed with light as the orb came near. This place was waiting, not for war, but for understanding. As Riven approached the arch, the orb floated from his hands. It rose into the center of the structure and hovered in silence. Then it began to spin, slowly, then faster, until a beam of light shot upward into the sky. The palveda. Trees trembled, the air cracked. A hologram burst to life in front of him. It was not Kayla, it was her ancestor. A queen from long ago, part human, part alien, beautiful and fierce. Her voice was soft, but her words held fire. If you see this, it means our bloodline survived. It means the truth was not lost. Long ago, we tried to unite our worlds, but fear destroyed the path. Now you must choose. You hold the last seed of unity. Will you plant it or burn it? Riven's throat tightened. The light from the orb surrounded him now. He could feel it inside his bones, showing him old battles, forbidden love, promises made under dying suns. The past demanded a future. He looked up at the figure. What do I do now? The voice replied without pause. You become more than soldier. You become bridge. You are the echo of both lines. Only you can decide what the echo becomes. As the light faded, the orb settled back into his hands. The forest was quiet again. But Riven was no longer the same man. The fire in his chest was no longer fear. It was purpose. He turned toward the path behind him. The ship waited. But his mission was just beginning. Somewhere in the stars, Kayla still fought. Somewhere in the dark, Merrick still hunted. And now, Riven held the one thing neither of them understood. The future was alive inside him. Riven sat inside the ship as it lifted off the glowing planet. The orb rested on the control panel, its light now softer. The memories it shared still pulsed inside his head, but the message was clear. He had a path, and it pointed toward Earth. Stars stretched across the screen as the ship picked up speed. Space no longer looked endless. It looked like a map. A living map built by choices, regrets, and ancient promises made between species who had forgotten how to listen. Earth was far, but not unreachable. And now it was more than just a destination. It was the key to understanding what Kayla meant. When she called him chosen, she had seen something in him that he hadn't seen in himself. Until now, the ship's voice returned. Signal detected. Origin, unknown. Encryption level, royal class. Riven leaned forward. Play it, he said without thinking. The screen blinked. A recording began. It was Kayla. Her hair was unbraided, her eyes tired. But her voice was strong. If you're seeing this, I'm either captured or dead. I had this sent through the old signal paths. I trusted the orb would reach you, and that you'd reach me. Riven's hands clenched. His heart thudded in his chest. Kayla's face filled the screen. There's something I never told you. I didn't just choose you for blood. I chose you because I saw how you looked at people. You never looked down, not even once. That's rare. The message flickered as her image continued. They're trying to erase us, not just physically, but in memory. In story, they fear what truth might do. They fear peace. Because peace would end their power. And it would make people ask questions. She leaned closer to the camera. The orb has one more key, but it can't be used until both bloodlines touch it. That's how it was designed, by both human and alien hands. You must find the second part. It's hidden on Earth, buried deep. Under a ruined city once called London. The screen went black. Riven sat still. The hum of the ship felt louder. Now he reached out and held the orb again. It pulsed once, then twice, confirming what Kayla had said. There was still a missing piece, and only he could retrieve it. The ship changed course. A line of coordinates lit up on the screen. The orb was already guiding him toward Earth. Riven had never stepped foot on his ancestral home, but now it felt like the final place he had to go to become whole. As he approached the outer edges of Earth's orbit, he noticed something strange. The satellites were dark. The orbit was quiet. No ships. No signals. It was like Earth had been forgotten or abandoned. He entered the atmosphere slowly. Clouds parted below him, revealing green valleys and broken cities. Buildings half swallowed by vines. Roads cracked and lost to time. It wasn't war that had ruined Earth. It was neglect. The ship hovered over the ruins of old London. Rain fell. The sky was gray, but the orb lit up again, glowing fiercely. Descent confirmed. Artifact location, beneath the old tower ruins. Riven landed the ship on what remained of a rooftop. He stepped into the cold rain with the orb tucked under his arm. Lightning split the sky, but he walked forward without pause. The future was waiting underground. He reached a shattered cathedral. Its roof caved in. The orb began to vibrate. He knelt and pressed his hand to the wet stone. A small panel opened with a hiss. Inside was a staircase carved in ancient alloy. Step down, each level colder than the last. The air smelled like dust and time. Finally, he reached a door. And when he touched it, it opened to a chamber glowing with pale light. At the center was a mirror of the orb, identical, waiting. He approached and placed his orb beside it. The moment both touched, the room lit up in blue fire. A figure appeared between the two spheres. It wasn't Kayla. It wasn't human. It was both, a perfect blend. A vision of what their future could be. The figure spoke one line only. Now the bridge can be built. Asterisk. The chamber shimmered with the energy of two united orbs. Blue currents of light ran across the walls, awakening ancient machines that had not moved for centuries. Riven stood motionless, the light dancing across his armor as the hybrid figure hovered before him. It looked human, but its skin glowed softly. Its eyes shimmered with shifting colors. It wore no armor, no crown, and yet its presence filled the chamber with silent power. It raised its hand, and the energy around the orbs pulsed in harmony. You have awakened the memory of peace, it said. The original plan. Before war, before betrayal. You carry both legacies. You are the fulcrum. Riven didn't speak. He simply nodded. He understood now. Kayla wasn't trying to survive. She was trying to restore something long lost. And he was the only one who could carry that truth through fire. The chamber walls shifted, revealing hidden panels. A star map lit up, projecting across the ceiling. Planets, trade routes, paths long sealed. These are the lost connections, the figure explained. We once walked together. Humans and Kaylori, builders, dreamers, lovers. But fear poisoned the stars. Riven stepped forward. How do I repair it? He asked. The figure pointed at the twin orbs. The orbs are not weapons. They are keys. When brought together, they create a pulse. That pulse restores forgotten memory across linked systems. If released, it will unlock the truth across every world touched by either bloodline. Riven swallowed. And what will that truth do? The figure paused. It will break empires built on lies. It will shake those who ruled through silence. And it will call to those who are ready to listen. Above ground, the sky darkened. Storm clouds formed unnaturally fast. A ship pierced through them. Not just any ship. Merrick's war vessel. Black and crimson. It moved like a spear of death, aimed directly at the ruin where Riven stood. Inside the warship, Merrick watched the reading spike. He's activated the link, he growled. Prepare to strike. We end this before he becomes a symbol. Underground, the chamber shook. Dust fell from the ceiling, but Riven stood firm. If I do this, there's no going back. The hybrid figure nodded slowly. There never was. The moment Kayla chose you, your path was set. The orbs pulsed louder now, together as one. Riven stepped between them and placed his hands on both. The energy surged through him like fire and wind. It was not pain. It was memory. He saw Kaylee as a child, touching her first crystal blade. He saw himself as a boy, looking at the stars from the training camp on Mars. He saw the wars, the broken treaties, the forbidden's love. The hope that refused to die, the pulse, began to rise. A storm of light built around the chamber. The hybrid figure vanished into the beam. This is your voice now. Speak and the stars will hear. Riven looked up. I am not king. I am not conqueror. I am the memory of two people who should never have been enemies. I am proof that what was broken can be healed. And I will not run from it. The energy exploded outward. A ring of light shot into the sky. It passed through stone and rain and pierced the clouds like a scream. Merrick's ship caught the edge of it. Its engines faltered. Systems sparked. And inside, Merrick saw something he never expected. The face of his own mother, Kaylari, hidden, forgotten. She had been erased from his record. But not from the orb's memory. And now the truth stared back at him with silent judgment. He roared in anger. But his ship spun out of control. The light had entered his systems. The lie he built his mission on was crumbling from within. Below, the light faded. Riven collapsed to his knees. Smoke rose from the stones. The orbs had gone silent. But the damage or the healing was already spreading across the stars. He had made his choice. Now the galaxy would decide what to do with it. Rain poured over the ruins of old London as Riven emerged from the underground chamber. His armor was scorched. His steps were weak. But the look in his eyes was stronger than any fire. He looked up at the sky. The storm had changed. No longer wild, no longer angry. Above the clouds, the stars shimmered brighter than before. The pulse had gone out, across systems, across barriers, across forgotten truths. The ship waited where he left it, still glowing, still alive, but different. Its surface now marked with new symbols, a new bond. Human and Kaylari, twisted together like roots in fresh soil. He stepped inside. The ship recognized him instantly. Its voice was warm. Pulse confirmed. Memory release complete. Galactic. Archives updated. Final directive awaiting input. Riven sat down in the pilot seat. The orbs hovered in front of him, quiet, still, but they pulsed in perfect sync. Like two hearts no longer afraid of beating together, he thought of Kayla. Her voice, her strength, her sacrifice. She had trusted him with more than history. She had trusted him with hope. And hope, once awakened, was impossible to kill. Suddenly, a ping struck the console. A signal. Faint, buried under static. Then a voice broke through. Weak, but unmistakable. If you're there, this is Kayla. I escaped. Injured, hiding. Do not respond. Just know I'm alive. Riven closed his eyes. Relief crashed over him. She was alive. The galaxy had not taken her. Not yet. And if she had the strength to keep going, then so would he. The ship lifted off the ruins. Clouds parted as he broke the atmosphere. The stars greeted him like old friends. He didn't fly as a fugitive anymore. He flew as a bridge. A symbol of unity written in blood and fire. Worlds began to stir. Across distant systems, people received the unlocked memories. Mothers wept at the truth of who they were. Soldiers dropped weapons that were no longer justified. Children asked questions their fathers couldn't answer. Merrick's fleet fractured. Some turned back. Others vanished. And a few crossed the line, no longer enemies, but witnesses to something greater than war. Riven sent one final message to the stars. Not a command, not a threat, just a promise. We remember now. And we choose a different path. As his ship soared past moons and nebulae, the orbs remained steady, glowing, waiting, not for battle, but for the next to carry the truth even farther. And somewhere among the stars, Kayla listened with her hand over her heart. The echo of unity had begun.